Oh boy, another English assignment. I'm so excited. I get to read a speech and then answer questions about it. How great is that?
I'm profoundly grateful given a more prompt solution to foreign food and other essential products. The initiative, I think, must come from Europe. Thank you very much.
I have no idea what the I just read.
Alright, I think it's time for some background. So, the Marshall Plan speech was George Marshall's first public reveal of what would soon be known as the Marshall Plan. It was given at Harvard University in June of 1947, about 2 years after the end of World War II. What it proposes and why it was needed is based on the conditions of Europe at this time. Imagine for a second that for about 6 years your country has been at war. Bombed out shelters of buildings is all that remains of what was once your neighborhood. Your factories, shipping lines, and production plants had been usurped for the sole purpose of building machines of war. Local businesses ruined. The economy on the verge of collapse. Millions of citizens dead or out of work. Stores most likely empty of toilet paper. Not that you would ever understand those living conditions.
Sarcasm.
This is a situation that many European nations found themselves in. This is the context in which George Marshall decided that the United States had to step in and help. In this plan, the US would eventually spend $13 billion to foreign aid, which in today's money would be $150,470,627,802.69. So, why did George Marshall propose this plan? And why did Congress end up passing it? Well, in this speech, Marshall declares that in European countries, the balance between those who produce food, the farmers, and those who produce goods, the workers, was about to break down. This would be super bad, as then the economy will collapse. In fact, the economy was already on the verge of collapse, as the European governments were short on fuel, food, and cash, which meant that their resources for reconstruction and recovery were non-sufficient. They needed foreign aid, principally from Americans, because Americans are awesome. Yeah. The Marshall Plan was that the US would drop a recovery plan and donate money and resources, and the European nations would do their share as well to get back on their feet. It would be a joint effort.
Yeah, but what's in it for us? What's in it for the US?
That's a good question, because although it might seem completely altruistic on the surface, there were a couple ulterior motives for why George Marshall proposed this plan. One of the major factors, not talked about in the speech, was communism. President Harry S. Truman was president at this time, and he instituted the Truman Doctrine, which, summarized very briefly, is communism is evil. And guess who was communist at that time? No, wait, hold on. The Soviet Union. And you'll notice on this map that the USSR was right next to a bunch of war-ravaged European nations. And desperate, starving people are more likely to join with communists than those who are better off.
The Communist Party, which had fought fascism, attracted new recruits.
The appeal of communism to young people and to students was that of a hope that it was possible to create a classless society.
Congress came together to pass the Marshall Plan, partly because they believed that it would prevent communism from spreading.
The Marshall Plan was born from the need to feed the hungry and to prevent communism spreading over Europe.
However, Please note that all this communist stuff is not actually mentioned in the speech. Marshall's main point in the speech was that the United States had to help out the European nations economically. All this communism stuff was just under the surface. I think it would just be a crime to talk about the Marshall speech and not mention communism at all in it, because it played such a big factor. The main focus of the Marshall Plan was to rebuild the European nations' economy. They did this by providing money, yes, but also by providing other things as well.
In Turin, the Fiat Motor Company received giant new assembly line machines from Detroit and Pittsburgh. Fiat was re-equipped with some of the most sophisticated machinery in Europe. American mules arrived in Greece after a long sea voyage.
The mules were very good. They were a bit wild, but slowly we got them under control. We were very thankful. How could we not be thankful, since we had nothing? Long live America.
Well, I hope that this video helped clarify what the the Marshall Plan speech was talking about.
Wow, thanks, P-Dog. You're the best.